Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's episode of the Hardwood Nation podcast. We got a guest today. We got my main man, Bryce Ward, and then we have Kevin Carter of the Balls in Our Court podcast. What is going on, fellas?
Same old, man. Just glad to be here.
Nothing much. I just wanted to say you guys make me as comfortable as a strip club does John Morant with a gun.
That works.
Yeah,
There you
we
go.
keep our secrets. Jaw's the one that posts his own business.
Well, see this is why I turned the video off.
Yeah.
Kevin sitting there with a gun in his lap.
Yep, exactly. A chihuahua
All right,
in one hand, a lady on my lap, and then a gun on the other side.
So speaking of Ja Morant, the NBA apparently has concluded that they could not find evidence that the gun was his. They officially suspended him for 8 games, with 6 of those games being served already, meaning Ja could return to the Grizzlies as soon as Monday. Whew. Kevin, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think of this whole situation?
The whole situation is a mess. It's like John Morant took on the persona that the Memphis Grizzlies team wanted to take on as their own self, and just was like, you know what? I'll go out and show it everywhere now that everybody thinks that all of our team is like a bunch of thugs and misfits and idiots and all that stuff. I just think they should have done this shit from the get go. They should have said you're suspended indefinitely, like not 2 games, not 8 games. You're suspended until we figure all this crap out, until it all blows over, because like everything in this modern world, it all blows over in a few days when somebody else says something stupid or something else goes on and everybody forgets about it anyway. So it's just that whole situation was nothing but a mess. From his dad all the way down to him to the team, it is just the whole situation was a mess.
Got it. Bryce, what do you think about the NBA's findings? And do you think the suspension was too weak?
Um, Specifically, like their wording on what they said, like, "Oh, we couldn't prove this or that." It seemed like I was like, okay, well, whether or not he owned that was his gun, like that wasn't one of the things I was thinking about. Like it was just kind of odd, like almost as if they're of course like dancing around trying to come down hard on like what other people consider to be the issue, and that's just the fact he's got a gun on it in a video regardless. You know what I mean? It's just like the tone and the image that he's setting. It's like, I don't care if the gun's his. He can legally own a gun. I don't care about that. I don't care if his buddy handed it to him. The fact that he had it, he made the decision to post the video. He made the decision to put all this out there. And then
Mhm.
it's just the imagery that I didn't understand I guess the take that the NBA was taking anyways. So it was just like I thought there was more there to maybe want to suspend him, I guess indefinitely too. Maybe I mean the end of the season's not that far off. So we talked weeks back with um Mike, and we both thought that maybe, or we all thought maybe it should have been for the whole season.
Yeah.
It's like 8, I don't know. The 8 games seems a bit short compared to, I guess, uh, the image he was putting out there for me. But I guess in the case of the NBA, they're like, it wasn't like on our, premises. It wasn't like a thing that happened specifically with us. So I guess that's where they get some wiggle room. But yeah, I agree with Kevin. I think I even might have said it a couple weeks back. It seems like the whole tone of that team, it's like they tried to do a culture change, like an image change. And, and some of the players have really embraced that personally. And that's just the way it comes off to me. It's like we see the team heading this way, and then all of a sudden Josh acting this way. And I mean, Dylan Brooks has been like kind of a pest for a while now, but it's like the other night I saw him, he was running out of bounds to get a ball going out of bounds and like stopped it, ran into the crowd a little bit, right? And he just like he kind of leaned over on a reporter, a guy there taking pictures or recording or something. And he just shoved him over for no reason.
Yeah.
It's just like how now it seems like, I mean, you're trying hard, right? Like
Right.
no one does that. You know what I mean? It's just like weird cheap shots, weird like clout moves, and it's something you don't see from an older team. You just see, but with that being said, the youth, the age thing, that's not a scapegoat. These guys are just acting dumb. John needs to get his shit together before, because he has the most potential of anybody on that team, pretty much. He needs to set the example and be like, okay, we're kind of done with all this dumb childish shit. I just sat 8 games. Fuck that. Play basketball and stop trying to worry about this other shit. That doesn't make sense for someone that talented and a team that talented.
Yeah, and in his recent sit down with PR promo bullshit, in his recent sit down with Jalen Rose, he said he now realizes what he has to lose.
Now,
due to the multitude. Yeah, exactly. Due to the
now
multitude.
now you realize. What an idiot.
Yeah. Due to the multitudes of the events, we'll throw this to Kevin. Why do you think it took him so long to realize that he could lose like pretty much his career over something so reckless?
Did no one tell him, hey, dude, if you're out flashing a gun and you're an NBA player, that might get you shit in trouble. Like I get it. You think you're one of those untouchable guys. You think you're one of the faces of the NBA and you want to be one of those going forward. You can't be out flashing a gun. I don't care if it was your uncle, brother's, cousin, sister's, roommate's gun. You can't flash a gun anywhere when you're in that type of position. There is one thing I'll say about the guy that shall not be named. You've never seen him. He'll say some stupid shit, but you'll never see him flashing a gun, flashing something, or pushing over a reporter or a person in the front row or anything like that. He's kept his image clean when it comes to stupid shit like that. He'll say stupid shit, but he'll keep his shit clean. You have, if you're going to be and you view yourself as one of the future faces of the NBA, you can't be doing dumb shit. And I don't know what took him that long to realize, hey, I can't be doing dumb shit. Like me and his dad are the same age. If that would have been my boy, I would have grabbed him by the ear, snatched him over, looked him dead in the face and said, dude, stop with the dumb shit. You're fucking it up for yourself, for your family, and your mama's already pissed at you. Because all you got to do is bring up mama. If you bring up mama, that mama's pissed at him, that turns over shit. But he just needs, there's an old saying, if you can't change the people around you, you change the people around you. That's what he needs to do. And he needs to figure it out sooner rather than later, that he needs to get his shit together, because if he wants to go on with his future and be one of the guys that all these people look up to in the NBA, then that's what he needs to do.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, hopefully the young man has found the peace that he needed to find in his 2-day stay at a
you can't say you can't say he found his peace though. You can't say that.
That was the briefest treatment stay I've ever seen in my life. Tiger Woods wasn't even there for a short period, and that was for a whole different situation.
Tiger. The bad part for Tigers though is when he was at the stay, there was a Denny's right down the road with a cute waitress. So.
Yeah, of his persuasion too, by the way.
Exactly.
All right, Bryce. So I'm going to throw this to you.
Y'all get off Tiger. He's just trying to golf.
Yeah. One of our favorite players said this week that, he kind of doesn't like the idea of ring culture. And he said the NBA wasn't like that when he came in. I can kind of dispute that a little bit because it's been like that since LeBron's been here. But anyways, what do you think of Damian Lillard kind of, I'm trying to word this right, kind of looking down on what some consider as ring culture and these players chasing rings and forming quote unquote super teams to achieve the ring. Like, what do you think of Dame kind of looking down on that?
I'm going to go off straight gut reaction to this, and I could be completely wrong. I think he's trying to justify him staying in one place, getting the most money he can, and being comfortable and being one of the best players in the NBA. He's trying to justify that by saying he's not going to get a ring, and that doesn't justify his career. And he is correct. But for a lot of people, that's what you care about. I don't care that my Magic have had a couple good seasons and a couple All-Stars over the years. I don't care about that. Do we have a championship? No, we do not. If I had Damian Lillard on my team, I would be thrilled to have him. I would be thrilled to have the success that Portland has seen over the course of his entire career. I would love all of that. I would be very disappointed if he was on my team to hear him say these things. Because, you sent me a video of some other guys talking about this, and I don't usually agree with Stephen A. on a lot of things, but I agreed with him on this. Even if you don't think that way, you have to come off to your fan base and everybody else like you are, because that's what everybody wants. When we talk about the Jordan era, we also talk about all the guys who didn't get rings because of Jordan. It to me, it goes back way before LeBron. It goes back. This is the whole reason the greats play. Can't tell me that Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Hakeem, all these people didn't come in and was like, I don't care about not winning a championship. Like, I don't believe that. And especially to your fan base and to your franchise, basically to everyone, to come out and say that, I think really sets the wrong tone. And I would not want my star to be saying it. I want my star to say, we're going out there and doing everything we can every night to lead to a championship. Where, LeBron didn't go back to Cleveland just to put up some stats. Even if he had stayed in Cleveland his whole career and never won a championship, it wouldn't have done more than what he did in one season. The stats, the money, all that, it doesn't matter to everybody else. As a personal person, yeah, Dame's going to be like, yeah, give me my money. I like where I live. I'm top 75 of all time. He's done everything he can do, basically, outside of winning a championship. So to me, it makes sense for him in his eyes to set himself up to not be disappointed, right? He's like, I don't want to justify my career on one thing. But to act like it's a ring culture and that there's other things to play for, there is. But make no mistake, there's one thing that trumps everything. There's a reason why LeBron still gets talked about and put underneath Jordan. It's rings. It's nothing else. If you don't like that, that's fine. But just know that you're in the minority. And maybe then you should loosen up the reins on Portland. Maybe you should leave just for the sake of letting that team go, because maybe you have the wrong mindset for that team. That's how I feel. And I love Dame.
Wow, that was.
But I would not want him on my team saying shit like that.
Whew. Kevin, what do you think about Dame's comments?
I just pulled it up as it's a cop out for him to go, look, when it comes time for the Hall of Fame and all that stuff, look, I stayed in one spot my whole entire career. We didn't win anything, but look at all this stuff that I did. If you wanted to win a championship, he could have already been gone and put on one of these super teams. Now, how many teams tried to trade for him and they never would let him go, and they've stuck him in Portland the whole entire time? He could have joined one of these super teams and won him a title. He's just using this as an excuse to, one, look what I did. I stayed at this team during an era in which all these other people were going and forming these super teams, and I should get my cookies for being the only guy on this team to be here and stay. But you don't come out and say, well, championships isn't my main priority, and it isn't how we all should be judged. That's just a cop-out to saying, look, I didn't go to none of these teams. Same with Bradley Beal. You can almost put Bradley Beal in that same situation. These two guys are the main looking things of We wanted to get paid. We got paid by the places we're at. We're more comfortable with making the money than we are on winning championships. The only difference is Bradley Beal hasn't come out and said it because we know he ain't winning the championship in Washington. we know that ain't happening. So and Dame come close a few times in the playoffs to making it there and everything, but you do not want your superstar face of the franchise player to come out and go, well, it's not about championships. No. Sorry, dude. In any sport that anyone plays, unless you're just money hungry and you do not care, it is legit about winning championships.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Real quick, I want to add on because too, it bothered me was he was like, well, we play out there for the competition, for the love of the game, to do this and that. No, you stayed in your city to get paid. Mm-hmm. There's no other reason. If they can't pay you more, if you're not making some of the you're making more money career-wise than LeBron James, same as Bradley Beal. You're not staying for any other reason than money. Like, in my opinion, you might love the city, but if they couldn't pay you that much, I think we're having a different conversation. So don't tell me it's about love of the game and it's about competition and all these things when you're in the one spot that can pay you the most money. Because talk to me about the money then too. Be honest about everything because it's definitely a big factor. If it's not championship, it's money.
Because if you wanted to win, you would have said, "Hey, trade me somewhere where I can go and win." He didn't want that. He didn't want that responsibility that if he got traded somewhere and they didn't win a championship whenever he got there, then they would look at him and go, "Oh, well, Dame's not the guy that we thought he was." That's it. So he got comfortable. He's getting paid, which I don't blame him at all, because the main goal of everything in professional sports is you get paid. But he didn't want that. He did not want the responsibility that if he got, because how many times was he on the trading block and how many times were the rumors where he's going to get traded everywhere? He did not want that responsibility of getting traded. Hell, they traded CJ McCollum before they traded him. He didn't want that responsibility of going somewhere else and that other team failing. He wanted to be comfortable, be where he's at, and fell with Portland, but fell getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
To play devil's advocate for just a brief second, because I do have to give King James some credit. The NBA has designed a system, of course, where the home team does have the advantage as far as paying their drafted players more. That's the way the NBA wanted it to kind of control player movement. So when you have players like LeBron James who says, well, I'll take a pay cut and go somewhere else because I'm not going to be locked here. I'm trying to win. I don't think the NBA necessarily likes that, but it shows some of the sacrifice that players like LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and to a certain extent, Dwayne Wade, who all have taken pay cuts to win championships. It shows the sacrifice that they make to do that. So I understand the sentiment of, Dame wanting to be there and benefiting from just taking advantage of the system that's in play. Hey, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to get paid more. I understand it. But then you also look at the sacrifice that some of the other guys have made who are champions, who actually didn't. It wasn't like that back in the day, by the way. But players wasn't paid as much, nowhere near as much as what they've been paid now. But I do get where Dame is coming from taking advantage of the system. But as Bryce and Kevin both said, he shouldn't have verbalized. He shouldn't have verbalized it because at this point, I can't even watch him and take him serious anymore. I don't even think I'm going to watch Portland again, to be honest with you, because it's just like, what the fuck? He's just going to go out there, get his points, he make it hurt, and that's it. But I can't take Portland serious as a franchise as long as he's still there now, because he's in the second half of his career, by the way. So he's probably going to be on cruise control for the next 2 or 3 years. But I can't take them serious.
You should just join the Globetrotters.
He's on the back end, as we like to say.
Yeah. It's winding down.
But you said, like, when LeBron and all them were switching teams and doing all this to go and win championships and stuff, we always forget LeBron's getting paid by Nike more than he's getting paid by the NBA. So the big contracts in the NBA and stuff, where they're good, A lot of these guys are making more money doing all the other crap that they do than they are in the NBA. And even Dame's getting paid by Adidas, and then he can go out and rap. He's more concerned about his rap career than he is winning a championship.
Yeah, well, we'll see how much longer Dame Dollar's going to be dropping dimes, right? All right.
Not much.
Moving right along. Moving right along.
I think I pulled something doing that segment on Dame. Oh.
Kevin, we had a little media situation last week that we were going to talk about.
Oh my God!
Kendrick Perkins stating that on live TV, stating that there was a. Let me back up. MVP votes are made by writers of the NBA. Okay, writers of different organizations that cover the NBA. So Kendrick Perkins made a comment that maybe there was a conspiracy because 80% of writers, which is kind of true, 70 to 80% of sports writers are white, and he was saying that that's why Nikola Jokic may be the MVP for the third time based on the color of his skin. What was your first reaction to hearing the exchange between Kendrick Perkins and JJ Redick of ESPN?
When you sit there and go, where you look at whoever's sitting next to you and go, and you hear something stupid and you go, did he just say that? And then you turn to your friend again and you're like, did he just say that? You wanted to make sure that everybody heard the same thing that you heard. When Kendrick Perkins said that, I said, did he just say that 80% of the NBA writers are racist and they're voting for a white guy just because? I was like, does Kendrick Perkins even know what MVP means? It means most valuable player to his team. Like, if you take the guy off of the team, will they be any good? That's why people vote on MVP like they vote. That's why Steve Nash won. I think they even went back and said something about Steve Nash winning it because he was a little white Canadian guy back in the day. Yeah, and I'm like, dude, no. They're the most valuable players on their team. Just because people are voting for him don't mean nothing. If you tell Joel Embiid to stop getting hurt, then he would be voted most valuable player. I was like, the guy's always there, and I was like, but then JJ coming off and calling him out about it, and Kendrick Perkins with the famous, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That's what got me the most. Man, just own up to your thing that you said and try to explain why you said it instead of completely denying that you said it. JJ was in the total right calling him out on it, and Kendrick just tried to backpedal like freaking like a DB. He was backpedaling forever trying to guard Tyreek Hill, and he couldn't catch up with him.
Bryce, what did you think about this?
I mean, I don't really hold Kendrick Perkins' opinion in high regard anyways, but I think when you have a guy like him on TV all the time, spatting off, like, I think what he's trying to do is get attention, of course, and make his segments more interesting, make sure that, he gets paid going forward. I just think that's the mentality a lot of those guys have to have, and unfortunately, sometimes they just come out and say some really dumb shit, and yeah, like when they get called out, it's just like, I didn't mean to, or this or that. It's just like, whatever it is, that's fine. But just own up to what you're doing. It's just, if I said some crazy stuff and then later got called out for it, I'd be like, yeah, maybe I changed my mind on that, or maybe I got caught up in the moment and was trying to play devil's advocate or something. We all do things like that, but like, come on, you just own up and just handle it professionally. Like, don't just back out of it. So we all say things, especially if you're on some kind of platform where you're talking all the time. Just own up to whatever you say. Like, you're gonna, if you're on there all the time, you're gonna say something eventually. Just go ahead, own up, be like, I made mistakes, I was doing this or that, and then go on about it professionally. But Kendrick Perkins is at this point just a big character. Like, that's how I see him. So it's like, I don't really take him all that seriously to begin with. So I just think it's funny because that dynamic compared with the tone that JJ has kind of set on his show, where you get these different takes, and it comes off as a more as a more honest take compared to the shows that Kendrick frequents a lot, which is more like national broadcast type stuff. It's just it's interesting to see the different takes between the two, and then see it kind of smeared in Kendrick's face, because I mean, we all kind of know how he is now at this point. We've seen enough of him, so I just think it's funny, and I don't really take it too seriously. I'm glad that they got to have a conversation. I'm glad that it got brought up the way it did between those two, because, like I said, the platforms are different, so it's more interesting.
No, it was a great debate, but I'm gonna say this, and I'm just gonna say it. I'm in the minority, and that's fine. I get what Kendrick Perkins was trying to say. He just delivered it very wrong. Okay.
Yeah, he did.
So with that said, it is factual that 70 to 80% of sports writers are white. That's factual. That's a fact. That's part of the reason I started this platform. Secondly, I don't believe that 70 to 80% of sports writers are racist. That's not what I believe. Okay, I don't. But with that said, we're gonna call Caucasians in the NBA magical unicorns. We're gonna do that. Okay, when you have a next level magical unicorns, certain fanboys spaz out. All right, there's nothing wrong with that. So when you see Dirk and they call him German Jesus, which I get it, Dirk was phenomenal, right? When you see Steve Nash in Dan Antoni's system win 2 back-to-back MVPs for absolutely no reason, it does make you look at things and say, what the fuck? Kevin will remember this. The most gross one was when Steve Nash won it and then Shaq was second, Shaq's first year in Miami. It was absolute bullshit. Okay? Mm-hmm. Absolute bullshit. And Dan Le Batard called the NBA out for that. It was absolutely bullshit. So there is some fanboyism, made up word, to see magical unicorns play at a level that we haven't seen since Larry Bird. And let's just be real about it. Because the NBA likes having magical unicorns. If Tyler Hero could actually be a consistent fucking NBA player and do well, Tyler Hero would be everywhere. Why? Because he's a magical unicorn. Okay? JJ Redick in Orlando was fucking God coming off of the bench.
Magical unicorn.
Let's be real about it. JJ Redick would damn near get standing ovations every game in Orlando coming off the fucking bench. Am I right or am I wrong, Kevin?
Look, you always
Turkaloo was my white boy on that team.
Stop. There you go.
Turkaloo wasn't white. He's ethnic. He's not white.
So is Jokic a freaking white? He's freaking
right.
He's over there. The guys that get the most attention being white are the guys we think that are American. Everybody thought Steve Nash was American because he played college basketball. Then when we found out he was Canadian, everybody was like, shit, we can't claim him. He's Canadian.
So there is and it's not.
They're peddling to the international market. It's not white people. It's international market.
Exactly.
That's all they have right now. That's why I brought up Tyler Hero, because you don't have another choice. You either have African American or you have Euro. But what they would like to have is
a Larry Bird
Hero, a Larry Bird, Tyler Hero currently, somebody like that to be the magical unicorn that could be the face of the league, because the league hasn't had that since Larry Bird. They haven't had it. So we haven't had
a whitewash. That's what they would call it. You haven't. That's what major media would call it. You haven't had a whitewash baby in wrestling terms. You haven't had a white meat. You haven't had a white meat baby face that you could put as the face of the league. That would be this clean nosed white guy, and that's what the NBA wants. The NBA wants a clean-cut white guy to come out there and play phenomenally well so it can kind of back away from the culture that's been developed in the NBA. And the NBA is trying to push one of those, whether he be foreign, domestic, or anything like that. They try to push that face forward so they can kind of pull back on the John Morant stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kevin. You said it better than I could.
No problem. For the 70% of the white guys on this show, well,
It is absolutely factual with what Kevin just said. So there is an inkling of truth to what Kendrick Perkins said from the standpoint of wanting to elevate someone that is a magical unicorn, but his delivery was grossly wrong. It was grossly wrong, and it's something that JJ Redick, who for the majority of his career has always been celebrated for doing absolutely nothing, is something that he wouldn't necessarily understand. So like JJ Redick, Kyle Korver, they wouldn't understand it because they don't see it from the opposite side. You get what I'm saying?
But you can put it, but you can't say it the way Kendrick Perkins said.
It came off wrong. Yeah.
It came off. It came off like you were calling all those guys racist.
He should have just said magical unicorns like I did.
Dude. The magical unicorn.
Oh, magical unicorns, right? Yeah,
that got me. That got me. But I'm like, you just can't say it the way you said it, Kendrick. You just can't go, look here. He basically said, you crackers are voting for the other cracker. That way. I'm like, you can't say kind of stuff. You're on national TV.
All right, we're going to wrap it up with our too early playoff predictions. We do this every year. God knows it seems like it's early, but it's really not. Give me 1 second, fellas. I'm going to try to share my screen. I should have already did this. Forgive me. I was thrown off this morning.
Do you need a magical unicorn to come help you?
Man, I need something. I don't even know if y'all can see this fucking screen, but I'm just going to focus on the top 6 of each.
Dude, you know I got cataracts. That shit's little as hell.
We're going to focus on the top 6 of each conference. So I'm going to start with the East, of course. Milwaukee's number 1. Philly is actually number 2. Boston's number 3. Cleveland's 4. The Knicks are 5. And Brooklyn is 6. Any surprises in that top 6?
Brooklyn. How did they not fall off after all the crap that they've been through?
Mikal Bridges has been playing out of his fucking mind, okay? That he couldn't do with Phoenix, but he's been playing out of his mind in Brooklyn. All right, so Boston had actually been number 1 for the duration of the league, duration of the season. Then Milwaukee, who has been consistent all year, has taken over that top spot. Philly has caught fire within the last month, which has added to Joel Embiid once again being added into the MVP conversation. I will say this because I forgot to say this in the last segment. Jokic is absolutely the MVP for the 3rd straight year. I see absolutely no problem with that, and I'm not saying that because he's a magical unicorn. I'm saying I'm saying that because he's that goddamn good. I'm sorry, he is fucking phenomenal. So he's my MVP. But Joel Embiid is getting, those whispers are coming back up. In the West, we have Denver, number 1. My surprise pick in the offseason, Sacramento, number 2. Memphis, number 3. Phoenix, number 4. The Clippers at number 5. And the Dallas Mavericks at number 6. I mean, we all know what the obvious surprise is in the West is Sacramento. Is there any other surprise that you guys see in the Western Conference?
Nope.
Got it. Got it. All right. So now we're going to talk about.
You're welcome. That was riveted. I'm your magical unicorn. That was riveting.
That was some good shit. Yeah, that was some good shit, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Really quick, Kevin, side note, the WWE's magical unicorn that's going to win at WrestleMania is actually half Cuban. I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah. So, adrenaline in our soul.
I had no idea. All right. So
you didn't know his mom was, you didn't know?
I didn't know.
Wow.
Love his dad. Man. Never knew his mom. All right.
Yeah.
So the play-in tournament for the Western Conference, we have Golden State at 7, Minnesota at 8, Oklahoma City at 9. Oh, this just changed from last night. And Utah at 10. The Lakers were actually there last night. Wow. Okay, I missed it.
When they lost on that butter beater, but I said butter beater. Buzzer. When they lost on that buzzer. When they lost on that buzzer beater the other night and knocked them down to 10.
Got it. So
I keep telling them to lose. Just lose.
In the East, we have Miami at 7, Atlanta at 8, and they don't want that matchup. Toronto at 9, and Chicago at 10. Any surprises in the play-in?
I'm surprised some of the teams in the play-in are higher up than they are right now, but there's no big. It's all the same teams every single year, minus Sacramento coming out of nowhere. But yeah, it's pretty much chalk, as they would say. It's not like the NCAA tournament where freaking everybody's coming out of nowhere this year. But no, it's pretty much how I saw it going.
Bryce, what do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same, except like he said, a couple of teams I thought were going to be a little bit better. I still kind of expect Brooklyn to fall a little, and so we'll see. But pretty much, yeah. I mean, outside of Golden State and the Lakers just being trash in the West, yeah, it's pretty much normal.
Got it. Well,
Who would guess? Who would guess old teams getting hurt fall out of the playoffs? Who knew?
They're just riding off old success.
The Lakers had a lot of shit to deal with inside and outside of that locker room. They had a lot of shit to deal with this year.
Yeah.
Golden State had a lot of shit to deal with this year. Okay. The Miami Heat had an awful lot of shit to deal with this year. But looking at this, so for example, there's a potential first round matchup in the East, potentially as of right now, with Miami and Philly. That's going to be a dogfight. There's a potential first round matchup in the West with Golden State and Sacramento. That's going to be beautiful. That's going to be a thing of beauty. So we have some good matchups potentially coming up. But we know this thing is going to change for the next couple of weeks that we have left. This thing is going to change, a few times, but we've done this a couple of times this year. Again, I'll do it because I'm going to pat myself on my back. I don't give a fuck. Sacramento's been absolutely amazing. With Mike Brown coming there, with Sabonis having the full year there. They have been absolutely fucking amazing. So kudos to Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks have been consistent for most of the season. They've been holding down that 5th and 6th spot. So kudos to New York.
You know my famous word for the Knicks, right?
Go ahead and say it.
Yeah, fuck the Knicks.
Dude, that was funny.
You already know how we feel about New York, Kevin. So yeah, go ahead and say it.
Exactly.
Denver has been impressive. Milwaukee has the top overall league in the NBA right now. They would be the top seed. As great as Denver is, as great as Jokic is, I don't trust them in the playoffs. As of right now, I think Milwaukee is the most dangerous team in the NBA, and I'm saying that in a good way. I think it's Milwaukee's championship to lose. Bryce, go ahead. Go ahead, Kevin.
Speaking of Milwaukee, have we now given Giannis the same stuff that we give LeBron, who, when it comes to the MVP conversation, we're just like, yeah, he's just that good. We don't talk about him in the MVP anymore?
Yeah, I was wondering.
I think he's
because that man, if you take him off the Milwaukee Bucks, they are absolutely positively nothing. And that's what the MVP stands for. Like, if you take him off the Bucks aren't doing what they do.
They wouldn't have won 15 games, but they've played actually well without him this year.
But that man right there is your MVP every single year. I think they gotten in that thing to now where they're just like, well, we're not going to give it to him every year like we didn't give it to LeBron every year, like we didn't give it to Jordan every year. I think the NBA goes through these cycles where we get these good, gigantically really good players, and they're just like, we're not going to give them the MVP every year because we got to find a magical unicorn. And we can't keep giving it to this guy.
Bryce, let me ask you this question, because one of my off-season picks to be a top contender was Philly, and they got off to a rough start. They had some injuries. They had to bring in new pieces. Now with Philly being only 2 games behind Milwaukee, how deep do you think Philly could go?
Philly, because there's I'm in agreement. I've been picking Milwaukee to win the championship, I think, for a while now, and I would agree with Kevin as well. He's been in my conversation for MVP. I even think I picked him a couple of times. My thing is with Philly is kind of like with Denver, with you. They have to win in the playoffs and go deep. They could make it to the conference finals, I believe, but I don't think they make it out of the East. And I think the same thing for Boston, because I don't think anybody's going to beat Milwaukee in a 7-game series this year. So Philly, I think, can go as far as that until they have to play Milwaukee. I think that's like the stopping block for any of these teams. Boston and Philly is the most interesting series to me because both of those teams are in my eyes, like the second place team. So I think Philly can go as far as they can without having to see Milwaukee. I'm kind of 50-50 on Boston, Milwaukee. I just don't know. Like, Boston's proven more technically. Philly's got all the talent and they've been playing good. I'm not as convinced that they have the experience in the playoffs. And Harden has sometimes a problem performing in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So it's going to be on Embiid and the rest of the team. And, Harden will have a game or two. I'm just not as convinced with them just because the experience doesn't seem to be there quite as much as some of the other teams. Not that they can't make it there, especially behind the way Embiid's been playing because he's been playing out of his mind. I'm just saying they have a little less experience, I think, in the playoffs than the other teams in terms of how far they've been. So we talk about you got to take steps. I think Philly's like one step away. Like they would have to get to the conference finals this year and lose, and then maybe next year is their year.
Oh yeah, I mean they've been through the conference finals before, I believe, and lost to I want to say Atlanta. So they've kind of been there, and then they kind of took a step back when they lost to Miami in the second round. Maybe that could have been the second round when they lost to Atlanta. I don't remember now. But no, I get that. I get that. So right now, Philly's on course to see Boston in the second round, perhaps, and then perhaps Milwaukee in the conference finals. So we'll see how that plays off. So we're gonna wrap this thing up today. Kevin, tell the people where they can find you at.
First off, Philly is the NBA equivalent of the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
Everybody hypes them up. Beginning of every year, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and they kaputski because they choke. So there's all you need to know about Philly. And the way Philly's track record with every sports league this year is they're going to choke and they're going to lose anyway, too, because that's what Philly's done lately. So, but you can find me at KevinC2415 on Twitter.
And Kevin,
dude, we haven't done one of those in 4.5 years, it seems like. So I don't know.
We love you, Cortez.
Yeah, I had to make sure to text him one day to see if he still was alive. Because all I know is he's been to New Orleans and he's been to other places. And I'm like, are you still okay? We haven't done a show in ages. I feel like the Titanic lady. It's been 96 years.
Shout out to our brothers at the Pulse in Our Court podcast. We would like to thank everyone for joining us this week. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below. We always respond. Hey, if you're a fan of the NBA, LeBron James, the Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic, who the fuck ever, give us some likes. We love that. We love the engagement. You guys have a great day.
Well, if you like LeBron, maybe not.